Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Silly Spooky Stories Songs. Do you know the story of Yoko's treasure? She was so selfish and greedy for pleasure. She stole the spirit's treasure box. Now her spirit is in that loft. There was once a woman named Yoko. She was basically nice, but she was also selfish and greedy, and sometimes her selfishness made her do very foolish things. Now, mostly every day, she would meet with her friends Mylene and Suki, and they would go down to the river and wash their clothes, and they would gossip and laugh and talk about various things. On this particular day, somehow they started talking about money. It seemed like they were always needing money. They just didn't have enough to take care of their needs. And Yoko, she was ambitious, but mostly lazy and selfish. And she started thinking about different ways to get money. And she started talking about different things to do to get money. And of course, her friends were laughing because they said, "You can't do things like that for money, Yoko. That's silly." And then she started talking about the temple. There was a special temple where people went to worship and meditate. And there were boxes inside the temple where people would give money, and the leaders would open the box and they would use the money to help make the temple prettier, to work on repairs, and even to help things in the town and townspeople that needed help, that were basically destitute, very poor, and very in need of help. But there was a box that was outside of the temple. You had to climb up the temple steps to get to it, but it was right outside and it was locked. There was chains on it. It had been there for hundreds of years, and it was a box that was dedicated to the spirits, the spirits that were to protect the temple and the town. And people would place money in there to appease the spirits and to show their gratitude. But this box was never opened, it was never touched. It belonged to the spirits. And it was said that if you ever even touched that box, if you tried to open it, if you tried to unlock it, that the spirits would come after you and harm you and you would die. So nobody touched that box. People would put their coins in there, but that was it. And Yoko started talking about that box. She started saying, "Well, if that box has never been opened, then how would there still be room for people to give coins? Maybe people aren't really giving as much money as they should." And Mylene and Suki said, "Well, that is not for us to say. But I have heard that there is much coins in that box. There are many coins, but the spirits must come and use the money for different things. And maybe that is why there is still room for people to give coins." And then Yoko said, "Well, maybe there are some greedy leaders that are opening the box and using the money. But maybe I should just go check, because if no one is using that money, then What good is it in that box? And her friends said, "Oh, Yoko, do not touch that box. Do not even think about that. You know, the spirits could hear you and harm could come to you. So do not even speak about that box or trying to get that money." But Yoko was foolish and greedy and a little arrogant, and she began talking about ways that she could use that money. "I know I could go up there and I could unlock the box. I could take a hammer, I could break it open. Or maybe the chains are so rusty they would just fall off, and then I could just open the box and get all the money and think of all the pretty clothes I could buy. And I could buy myself a new house. I could buy myself food. We could have a party." "No, Yoko, do not touch that box." "I'm going to touch that box. I am going to go get it. I don't believe in spirits." "Oh, Yoko," her friend said, "you should not say that. That is dangerous. You are putting your life in danger." And Yoko just laughed. "Ha ha ha. Oh, I don't believe in spirits. I'm going to go up to that temple and I am going to open that box and take all the money for myself. Why don't you come with me? We could share." "No, Yoko, no," Mylene and Suki cried. "No, we will not do that. We will not disrespect the spirits." "Well, then, fine," said Yoko. "I will go up there by myself and I will open the box and take all the money for myself." And so off she went. She was so excited about getting that treasure, she even left her laundry behind. And her friends were just shaking their head. "Oh, Yoko, you are in so much trouble." But Yoko, she went. She walked the miles to the temple and she climbed up that tall staircase and got up to the temple. By the time she started climbing those steps, it was already dark. And she started hearing things. She thought it was just the wind, but it sounded like a voice saying, "No, Yoko, do not open the box. Go back, Yoko. Go back." And she just said, "That's silly. I must be imagining things. It's because I was listening to Myling and Suki saying all that foolish things about spirits. That's not real." And so she kept climbing up the stairs and she kept hearing that voice. "No, Yoko, turn back. Turn back." "I will not turn back," she said, and she kept climbing up the stairs until she got to that box. It was a medium sized box, so she could carry it quite easily, even though when she touched it and she shook it, it was full of coins. Yoko laughed. "Oh, the coins just for me." And she heard the voice again, louder this time. "Yoko, turn back. Do not touch that box. Do not take that treasure." But Yoko didn't listen, and she started shaking the box, and the chains were so old and rusty that they actually just fell off. And she thought she was going to have to bang it open with a hammer or something, but she didn't even have to do that. I guess no one had dared to touch the box or try to even break the lock, but because it was so old, the lock came open quite easily, and she was able to just open the lid. And there was all the coins. And she put her hands into the coins, and then she heard this wind. "Yoko, evil woman! Evil woman!" And all of a sudden she looked and she saw faces swirling around her, and a wind was blowing all around her. Foolish woman! The faces screamed in her face. Foolish, greedy woman! You dare to take the spirit's treasure! Now we will take you! No! Yoko screamed, and that was the last anybody ever heard of her. All of a sudden, she felt herself being swirled around in this wind and sucked into the box. The next day, her friends came looking for her. They were worried about her. And when they walked up to the temple, not to take the treasure, but to see if maybe she was there, they walked up and they could not find her, but they found her clothes laying beside that treasure box. And the box was there, and it looked like there were new chains on the box and a new lock. But there was no Yoko. She wasn't at her house. No one had seen her since she left to go climb the stairs up to the temple to get that box. I knew it, Eileen said to Suki. I knew she was going to be in trouble. And Suki said, I knew it too. I know the spirits must have taken her. And so they ran as fast as they could down those stairs and never went up to that box again. And they warned all their friends about what they knew happened to Yoko. The spirits had taken her for disrespecting them. Don't disrespect the spirits. Ooh.